Welcome back to another Rockford CCG Street Fighter vs. Darkstalkers profile series edition.org.net hashtag. Today we have Marc Wisniewski with us, very well-known UFS player, one of the best UFS players I know personally. He beats my ass all the time. I got him this one time in Collinsville, but that was just because I got super lucky. And he checked really bad, didn't draw any attacks, but
you exercise the demon though.
It's okay. But I'd rather beat you at a bigger event because then it means more. But still though,
we still got Chicago and Worlds coming up.
There we go.
The opportunity.
Yeah. So I reached out to Marc, asked him if he wanted to join on the series, and he picked the winged angel man himself, Gill. So why don't you talk about a bit why you are drawn to the Gill character, and then we'll move into the deck list after that.
Sure. I'll talk a little just on Gill. There's several things going for Gill that just kind of appeal to me as a player. I played a lot of five-handers. If there's a five-hander that I think is viable, I'll always give it a look.
Mm-hmm.
In this instance, I think Gill is a very strong character. I think he's got a lot to offer on all three of his symbols.
Sure.
So while we're going to share one deck list on life today, I'll talk a little bit in broader terms about some concepts and stuff from other symbols that can be adapted without making us go 3 hours.
Okay.
And then as we started seeing some of his support come out and see the interactions, he's very much one of those characters where if you go into Ultra and just kind of look through attacks, you'd be like, wow, that works. And wow, that works. And so I've been playing a lot of Gill. This particular list will be showing Gill la Gill is a lot of fun. And it takes advantage of some of my old Dimitri stuff while also taking advantage of what makes Gill so good.
Okay, cool. All right, so we can get right into it. I'll click over. All right, go ahead and I'll follow along. Just let me know where you want to start on the Ultra list, and I'll just move right over to it.
Sure, I'm going to start in the attack base because I think that's it all begins and ends with Gill and in pretty much with UFS, modern UFS is in the attack base.
Sure.
The hardest part with Gill, and this will be the struggle for anyone trying to kill somebody, is that his speed pump is awesome. He doesn't pump out a lot of damage, so you have to find ways to get around that. So in this instance, I used Darkside Master as kind of my base card for my attacks. Darkside Master, an old Dimitri card from Darkstalkers, has one keyword. All your non-ranged attacks get +2 damage. So the whole deck, even let me double check on. Yeah, everything in the deck is non-ranged. I wanted to make sure Urban Shower wasn't.
Yeah.
But Darkside Master is a great base attack for it. It comes out as a 9 high. I'm sorry. Let me get my speed right.
It's a 8 high for 5.
8 high 5.
Yeah.
So we're going, all right, 8 high 5, and I gain 2 life when I attack with it. And it pumps all the rest of the attacks in the deck, too, for +2 damage. And what I tried to do with this list is understanding, and when you play a five-hander, you have to be very careful about how much not attack, not foundation stuff you put in. The deck is built around taking advantage of, okay, I've got Darkside Master, some throws, and getting these back into your hand to cheat your hand size. Because if you're attacking and you're drawing cards defensively, if you attack them and they block, you just failed. Even if you're drawing the card off it, it means the attack didn't stick. So with Darkside Master as kind of the basis, it lets me turn things like Negative Stolen, Urban Shower into big attacks. The most notable attack in the deck is Soul Devour. It's one of Gill's ultra rare attacks. I block with it more than anything. The effect on the card, I'm using my phone as a reference here, so if I'm looking down, that's why. It's a 4 low 8 that becomes 8 low 8 in Gill, which is good. Powerful 4. Our card pool, though, twice per turn after your opponent plays a card, draw a card. So if you block with it, you've drawn off that your opponent playing their first attack. Now that it's in the pool, if they play their next card, you draw 2 more cards because of Gill and with that. So you can turn into drawing like 4 cards a turn. And it also has a +1 low block on it. So between Soul Devour and Templar, you rip a lot of cards on your opponent's turn. So the other one I wanted to talk about in particular is Ultimate Impact Claw. I want to make sure I get this right. It is a common. It's his best attack by a mile.
Okay.
It's easily the best attack he's got. It just plays out of aggressive completely. In this deck, the only exception is Urban Shower. which with Urban Shower, I generally reversal with that.
Mhm.
A 7 low 4 that is going to gain me 4 life and burn them for 2 is really, really good. And Gill as a 527 is a scary prospect. So you're prone to some issues if they just kind of run you over. And defensively, this is where Gill's weakness lies. If your opponent's playing a lot of keywords, you're not doing much on their turn. In fact, I had matchups where my ability was pretty much turned off. If there's lots and lots of keywords. If you're Gill, the word Fury is the bane of your existence. Fury is just put on so many cards for funsies. It's put on for everything from just like random Akuma attacks to Chun-Li kicks to Morgan attacks. Yep. They're all Fury. Because Fury is a very vague idea. It's not an attack type.
They're just mad.
It's like it's like having a happy, sad, glad keyword. But it just leads to, as Thomas Gordon lovingly puts it, keyword spaghetti.
Yes.
So a lot of times you have to bank on the deck gaining you life only on your turn. If they happen to be playing like low keyword counts, then all good for you. It's great. I've also had instances in like testing against like Akuma, stuff like that, where like a lot of Akuma's attacks outside of his Ultra are like, what's the common? You'll know this better than me, Chris.
Dohaso Shoten, the common. It has like three. It has like three keywords. It has
3 or 4,
yeah, it's 3 or 4, yeah.
And it's just one of those, you get certain matchups. I know Morgan and Lilith are going to be things like this too, where there's just a lot of keywords going on. So defensively, it's not great. But that's where you got to make up for it with cards like Plant Barrier. Plant Barrier, one keyword, its only keyword is Breaker. It's also a 0 mid block. Now, the real kicker, though, is you block with it, you take a card from your discard pile and stack it, and then when they play their next card, since you're Gill, you draw. So Plant Barrier is a really strong defensive card in this deck. And the other thing I do a lot, too, is with Merciless Master. We're going to start going into the foundations now, but Merciless Master lets you just stack a momentum. So between Merciless Master and Surveyor, I'm able to kind of cheat and get the cards I need. Merciless Master, if they play their first attack, you can, as long as you can eat the first attack, you can just stack and draw. It also gives you an opportunity just to rip some cards. Garden Mascot's another good one. The whole basis of this deck is playing on low keyword counts. So outside of negative zone, I can draw with Garden Mascot all day long. I had to think, though, when I was building this, like, all right, how do I get damage on board? So there's a couple of, like, stupid good cards here. Ending the Dream. Most of the time, people can't block your stuff. Ending the Dream, spike card, destroy for 4 damage. End of a String or that reversal Urban Shower, whatever, makes those really gross. The other kicker is Confronting Jedha. We were talking about this, Chris and I, before we did this call, and I think most of the decks in this series have some variant of Confronting Jedha in it.
So far,
So when you're Gill, if you just go, all right, give this attack 4 speed, now give it 4 damage once per turn. And defensively, you go, all right, give it -3 speed, give it -3 damage once per turn. You're like Super Dalsum. The other card that gets really gross in conjunction with Confronting Jedha is Prophetic Fulfillment, Giant Baby Foundation. Gives an attack with 1 keyword, +2/+2, and takes it out of progressive for the turn. So when you're playing a string with like Darkside Master, you take Darkside out of progressive and then play your string. And with stuff like Ultimate Impact Claw is always going to play on a 4. The other kicker, though, with Confronting Jedha, you give it 2/2, and then so now you're at, say, +6 speed, and then give it 6 damage. So it just makes Confronting Jedha that much better, too. The other defensive garbage is Last of His Kind. So Last of His Kind, you lose 2 life for -4 damage, and then Gill to gain the life back. So you're very much cheating. Some of the basic life stuff I still left in here, though. Portal Barrier, Spiders and Dragons, Immortal Knowledge. Because there's going to be times as a 5-hander, you will have to block your face sometimes. So it's good to have some of those options. luckily with Gill's ability, you're allowed to go deeper than you would with some other characters.
Sure.
Not quite as good as like a Jackie Briggs, where you just for sure draw 3 cards on their turn, but you do have some options to keep you afloat. Mortal Resurrection's a fun one. That's a hot one up in here. It's after your opponent plays an attack, draw a card, playable while committed, but it also cancels a cancel. So if it cancels a revoke or whatever, which is on these symbols, to the best of my knowledge, is the only thing that can answer revoke in that way. I'm shooting from the hip here.
I think so. Shooting from the hip. I want to say if there is any,
it's Showdown.
Showdown has order, so yeah, it would cancel. It can cancel an action cancel, but it couldn't cancel like a foundation.
Correct. Cancel. Yeah. So in this case, like it cancels. After your opponent plays an ability that cancels your enhancer response, cancel it.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. It's a hot one of. It could actually probably be a 2 of if I go to test this further. Conduit of United Essence is an interesting little card. I don't think it's as good as some other stuff. It's got some nice purposes.
Yeah.
That's one that I'm kind of playing around with that one. Newborn Weapon's another one where I'm kind of playing around with that too.
Oh, okay. I got a story about this card. So I was playing against in round 1 this past Wednesday. I was playing Akuma, and round 1 I was playing as Akuma against an Order Runica deck, and the only reason he beat me game 1 because he had 2 copies of this on his board, and I didn't know it committed 2 foundations per card. It commits. I was just like, oh, it commits 2. And then, so he beat me game 1. Game 2, he didn't draw it. Game 3, he drew 2, but he ended up having to commit them for other stuff. So I was able to push through it. But man, that card's a beating if you have check hacks in your deck.
It seems like a very solid card. The E on it is just win more kind of effect. I haven't had many instances with this deck where it came down to like, oh, I'm going to bomb the check, because the one advantage of Gill, and this will translate into, I've got him built on life, but I've also been messing with an all list using slams, is that you're generally able to play on really smooth curves, where you don't need like just straight up like Cardi B, you just play in very like easy difficulty curves, 4, 4, 5, that kind of thing. Your impact claws, if you do it right, are either going to be, unless you're playing Urban Showers offensively as opposed to reversals, are going to be playing on 4s. No matter what you play.
Even playing them on 5s isn't bad. So it's not
at worst. At absolute worst, you're playing them on 5s unless you played a string of Urban Showers.
Yeah.
In which case, like, that's why in the list Urban Shower is not a 4 of. I didn't want to draw a handful of it, but it's a very strong card in Gill. So on the all slam list is it's very similar. You can do stuff like with Canyon Flyer, Impact Claw, a bunch of slams, where the whole list is playing on 3s and 4s.
That's awesome.
Because like Beast Cannon has 1 keyword on it. You can play stuff like Yamato Surrender has 2 keywords on it. So there's things you can get away with that list too. That's really good. I'm a little more sketched of that because I think it's more based on stuff like Kiora, and I don't like playing like Kiora if it's revoked is really brutal.
Yep.
There's not, because now you've got 2 cards in your pool that both count to progressive, and that card did nothing.
Yeah.
So I think that the slam one needs more Kiora, and Kiora also leaves you very vulnerable.
Sure.
This list is a little more consistent. I would say it's probably a lower ceiling, but a much higher floor. The other kind of elephant in the room I haven't touched on are the overhead heel crush ideas.
Oh, sure.
I don't love order, because if you go to build this list, the only good attacks in your deck are overhead heel crush and impact claw. And generally when I build a deck in Ultra, I find that thing where like, okay, I've built the whole list, now I'm going to trim it down. Like, here's everything I want in it, let me trim it down. And generally I'm like 90 cards and I got to make it 65 or whatever.
Sure.
My first list for the Order Gill was 54 cards. Order has some phenomenal 1-ofs and 2-ofs.
Yeah.
But like they have really bad spam. I mean, I was contemplating putting like basic training in the deck and stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
Not that there's options. Like, I know there are select good cards. I think that overhead heel crush, if it had all or something, you'd be like, okay, this is in every deck. I think it is derpier. You could probably derp a few wins. I just think as far as consistency, you want to be either all or life.
Yeah.
Sure. Order has some good tools. There are a lot of very hot 1-ofs in that deck.
Yeah.
You think of all the Guile stuff.
Was it Securing His Destiny? A
Securing
2/4
His
non-block
Destiny,
all
Securing
that
His
stuff,
Destiny, whatever it is. Last of His Kind is Order.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's a lot of really cool 1-ofs, 2-ofs, stuff like that. And I got done with the list and was like, I was like 50, 54, 56 cards.
Yep.
I didn't even have enough to build a deck. And was like, well, that's the flaw. That's the fatal flaw, is that as good as Overhead Heel Crush is, the foundation base is a lot of great uniques.
Yes.
Which is cool, but it's not going to be as consistent as the other ones, especially in the way the world is. The attack's got to be better.
Yeah. I also think that really it's the life in all versions of him. I would may have more of a, like you said, the ceiling may not be as high, but the floor is higher than most people would probably think. Because he's going, like we have a guy playing Gill here, and he would just run over people, and then like Dust in the Wind can help out and stuff like that, but he's gaining life on my turn. If he's decreasing it by 3 or more. And luckily, that's only like 1 or 2 Akuma attacks that he can gain the 3, I think. Okay, yeah, because I also play the 2 Gyro Man cards, so he can minus speed to that stuff. I play, Gyro Attack and Gyro Blade. Those have 2 and 1. So I learned not to play those against him. But unless I was leading with it, because then I can just abort the attack when he would try to go block or something. So he'd still gain his life, but then I wouldn't be like out of progress. I would have face downs, so they wouldn't count towards the rest of my attacks. But he's a really weird character because you have to account for him being at least a 35 health character. You have to.
You're playing against him, like that's the kicker, is just understanding, like, don't try and. It's hard to poke.
You can't poke him. You cannot.
It's very hard to poke, and like if you poke, it better be a hell of a poke.
I had to.
You can't backswing and gain it all back.
I had to basically play attacks to abort them, and then end with the Kongu attack where I can remove all my face towns for powerful effect.
Mm-hmm.
I had to one-shot him. Basically, I one-shotted him, and that's the only way I was able to beat him in one of the games we played. Yeah.
And Gill's really tough to beat.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that in playing around with, I'm playing, and I've always been pretty open about what I'm playing. I'm playing Gill and Spike 1 right now.
Yeah.
I know that Spike is ultimately better than Gill by a considerable amount. But as far as playing like either more inexperienced players or people not playing their best stuff, Gill can definitely just run over some people.
Sure.
I've actually won probably more games with Gill than Spike, and it's just because Spike is more complex.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more going on, but he's also like a world beater ceiling. Whereas with Gill, I could see Gill winning a PTC or something. I don't think he can win like a Worlds. I think he's, in the instance of you're going to play a 5-hander, especially if you're playing 5-hand on life, why aren't you playing Jackie Briggs?
Yeah, exactly.
Jackie is, I just remember Phil reminding everyone, if you guys think that Liu Kang was the most broken character, you haven't seen Jackie Briggs. I don't think he's totally wrong. It's that same discussion I just had, though, about Spike versus Gill. Like, Spike is better than Gill. Gill, though, Gill is Liu Kang to Spike's Jackie, where there's good stuff there, but it's a little harder to pull off.
Mm-hmm.
Gill's is much more straightforward. If you can remember your R, you're pretty gold. That's the hardest part about playing Gill, is just remember the R.
I can really see him as a teams deck, because I don't think anyone wants to be paired into Gill, because he's just going to draw a million cards and a lot of life, and if your deck's not built to either burst damage someone, like if it's like let's say a death by 1,000 cuts type deck or whatever, you pair into that, you're not losing his Gill, because you're just like, well, I'll just gain all my life back after you did like 5 damage to me or whatever,
Yeah. And in testing with against decks that only play 1 or 2 keyword attacks, a lot of like 2 keyword things.
Yeah.
I quite frankly, I don't quite know how they win. Which is why Gill, I agree with you. I think Gill is a very strong teams deck. I don't think he's like a singles world beater, just because of some limitations where you like. I can tell you I'm sketching how many people are going to play Morgan competitively.
Yeah.
But I think Morgan is a solid character. I think Lilith is a really good character.
Mm-hmm.
They have keyword spaghetti like no one's business.
Oh, yes, they do.
I think there's a lot of characters where it's just if there's a lot of keywords, you aren't doing much on their turn.
Correct.
You're drawing cards. You draw a card or two.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah.
Jackie draws 3 for funsies.
Yeah.
Just because she just draws 3.
And she starts off with like what 6 more life. She's a 33 health character.
Yeah, she's a 533 that has a better offense and draws more cards than Gill. So it's one of those where you have to look at it and go, okay, what am I doing? How do I make this work for Gill as opposed to just being bad Jackie?
Sure.
And in Gill's instance, though, he's got a lot of tools at his disposal. And I would definitely say, like, confronting Jeddah, I'm sure the more you do these, you're gonna talk more about. Yeah. And being able to abuse plant barrier, like Gill does, is really strong because I mean that's the closest thing to a hard tutor.
Yeah.
There is.
Really that's an easy include into him because your opponent, say you're on defense and you play plant barrier, you stack a Templar, and your opponent's not going to want to attack you and give you that Templar,
Right. And even if you can just use it and set up your backswing.
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right, Dark Side Master or whatever, and just another block's coming, just plant barrier.
This really reminds me of like Dimitri of old. Like it's kind of weird to say that because he's only been gone for 2 years.
I think that's fair.
I think that's fair. He has a lot of echoes to the tutoring out of the discard pile, setting up your draw, stuff like that. And it could be just because it's like the whole Dark Side Master negative stolen thing, but it's just that's just a really good attack engine that people once Dimitri was banned, no one picked up Dark Side Master ever again.
Right, and Gil's the perfect character for it, and I think this is a good way to put damage on board because for most people who build it, if you can't land overhead heel crush, how do you kill him?
Yeah.
If you aren't playing Dark Side Master, everything in this deck is 4 damage, 4 damage.
Yep.
4 damage, 4 damage, and the 2x Soul Devourer at 8. I don't feel great about building the whole deck around trying to land Soul Devourer.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel great. So I like that more as a utility attack. That's why it's 2 of.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some people might disagree. Whatever.
Now,
it's very, very pricey.
Did you take a look at Demon Billion by chance?
I did. Let me pull up and make sure I get the wording right because I know there was a wording reason I didn't use Demon.
I know you have to gain life for the effect. You have to gain life first to play it as a 4 of, I believe.
Yeah. Okay. So let me pull it up to make sure because I've actually had a couple of in talking Gill with people. I've actually had Demon Billion come up a couple of times. Let me make sure I get my wording right.
I know one of the knocks against it doesn't have a block, so does
not have a block.
Yeah.
It's also if you gain Vitality this turn, this card gets -1 difficulty.
Yeah.
If it deals damage, flip 2 of your opponent's foundations.
Yeah.
The biggest kicker for me on that is that it's a 5 diff no block. And I know it's technically you can make it 4, but it's only 4 if it's your second attack of the turn.
Yeah.
Which means if you lead with Dark Side Master, you're playing it on a 5 anyway. The other kicker is that if it's turn 2, you're at full life anyway. You haven't gained life, so you can't.
Yeah.
You can't then make that up. So I just didn't think it was good enough. If you're going to do that, you could mess with like a cryokinetic assassination or something like that. I think would be a better alternative for something similar. The only reason I don't like that card is that it banks on it getting blocked.
Yeah.
And my goal here is don't get blocked, or if you do, make sure they're punished for it.
Yeah.
So the couple of tweaks I'd make, I'd probably put another throw or 2 in here. Just something like Moon Tracer. Something like that, where Moon Tracer, I believe, is just throw.
Yep.
Because it needs a little more something. But I think having a couple Surveyors, Merciless Master, using Plant Barrier defensively to kind of stack your kill turn, gives you an out.
Sure.
So I think this kind of a build, and I'm sure that when this will get refined, and I'm really anxious to see what other people are doing with Gill. I think that Life and All just are better than Order.
Sure.
But Order's got the sexiest attack, but Life and All have everything else.
Yeah.
I hope more people play Gill. I hope it promotes people playing 5-handers and doing good things with 5-handers. I love the 5-hand size stuff, and it'll get people to maybe not play Jackie Briggs.
Yeah, that's true. I think everyone's kind of tired of the looping air ground smash over and over again type deck.
It's pretty gross.
But yeah. Okay, cool, man. Well, let me flip back over to, let me see here. I'll end on the Gill card. So I want to say thanks again. We're going to close it because we're pretty much at where we want to be for time. So again, like, comment, subscribe. Follow Slam on Ultra. It is Slam with an exclamation mark. He puts all of his decks on there. They're usually never private. I know most of the time they're never private.
The only time I ever put them private is if it's like right before tournament time and it's like my team's deck, because I know that for me, I'm very public about what I'm playing, but for the sake, like I know my team is not always as public.
True.
So if I know what I'm playing is going to be the team's thing, I'll usually private my team's deck. Or put it at least in a weird name. El Secreto was my jet deck from Nats. So my original title for that deck was Nats 2018 Jet. All right, and so I figured I should probably give it a better name to be a little less obvious.
Yeah, true.
But right now, my spike is just. I think my spike lists are all just like water life spike. I have. I do have. If you're looking at my ultra, I do have slam lists up. I don't think I actually have the order list up for Gill because I hated it.
I don't
but
blame
the
you.
slam and life builds are both up there if you want to see them.
Then again, guys, follow, like, comment, subscribe. I believe the channel. I believe the next episode we're recording, which is tomorrow. As of recording, we're Clint Badger's coming on. We're doing Donovan. We are doing the box toppers too. I have an Elena scheduled that I'm going to do. Devin's going to come on and do Ken 2 Dot because he's been doing some cool things with him. So again, thanks again, Mark. I appreciate you coming on. And,
I lied, by the way, real quick.
Go ahead.
Order one is on there.
Okay, so, order one is on there.
All right. Symbols, Power Stone, and Stat Beams. It's great stuff.
Okay, cool, man. All right, then. So we'll talk to you later. Everyone, have a nice night, and stay tuned to the channel for more content.